minutes in. Carry On Alice breaks their hearts again.
Pulling clear in the closing stages. Smart Call wins the Jambi Mid. And Smart Call comes home to win it in the main Johns Farms Paddock Stakes.
A warm welcome to another edition of Breeding to Win, with another full show ahead for you this evening. Without any further delays, let's say hi to Grant, who's lucky enough to be with the rest of the Breeding to Win team down at Aventure.
Yes, thanks, Jules, and great to be back here at Aventure Estate. Always a privilege to come out here. Not only is it a wonderful horse establishment, but we all know that the restaurant here is top draw too, and we'll be sampling some of that a little bit later on. But we've got a busy show. You'll be taking us through that lineup shortly. And obviously, condolences to everybody out at Klavervlei for the very sad passing of our legendary stallion there. That was Captain L. He certainly will be missed by all in the breeding industry, and condolences out to John Costa and his family there out at Klavervlei in Bonnievale too. But Jules, take us through what's in store for us for our show tonight.
Well, in tonight's show, we pay tribute to Captain L. Fee catches up with Pippa Mickelborough. My studio guest this week is Colin Gordon, racing manager of Mutonshoek. And last but not least, Grant chats to Justin Vermaak about possible Equus winners.
Minding hits the front in the Oaks. Her 1,000 guineas success. Minding outclassed them. Architecture gallant in defeat. It's coming with a challenge and moves through into second. And it's Tarzan who has won the Investec Derby.
A length and a half away. He's 2 lengths in front. Chrome turns to gold. Smart Call wins the Jambi Mid.
Absolute thriller going to the line. It's Durban July.
Well, next up, we're going to be concentrating on the tribute that's been put together by Andrew Bond. It is a tribute relating to the legendary stallion Captain L, and certainly he will be missed by many in the breeding and racing industry.
There have been so many beautiful outpourings of emotion in tribute to Captain L. But for the purposes of this particular tribute, it'll be the words of John Costa and John Freeman that we use as our foundation. Al Mufti, his sire, a son of Roberto, a champion sire, and a huge influence on the breed in South Africa. It was a date with destiny, and Manny dos Santos' daughter of complete warrior off to war was the chosen matriarch. Captain L, from the get-go, was a spectacular racehorse. Vaughan Marshall, who had trained the entire family, was entrusted with the care of Captain L. In the words of John Costa, "If you are extremely lucky, this kind of stallion comes around once in a lifetime." We revere Captain L and the role he played in shaping our lives in every kind of positive way possible. It was John Freeman who was entrusted with the task of syndicating Captain L.
My thanks to Anthony and Gary Dos Santos and John Costa for asking me to manage the syndicate. Captain L is a very valuable addition to the portfolio of stallions that my office manage, and we're really pleased to add him to the list. I'm happy to report to you, as with the syndication of London News, and without any promotion at all, this syndicate is all but complete. I went with Gary Player to see the horse at Milnerton last Monday. He was so impressed, he confirmed immediately. He has loads of quality about the head, very good rib, and he's a very solid horse with wonderful quarter and good limbs. I've absolutely no doubt that he has the physical proportions to make a precocious stallion. Anthony and Gary have committed the resources necessary to ensure that this horse gains the exposure that we need to make him work commercially.
My first association with the Dos Santos brothers, Gary and Anthony, was they phoned me and asked me to train a horse, Mustang Manny, for them during the Natal season, which they sent up to me, and I won the Port Natal handicap for them in Durban. And when I came back to Cape Town for the season, they asked if I'd train Cams and Win for them, which was a half-brother to Mustang Manny by Damascus Gate. Which I did. I took him into the yard, and he has proved very successful, been an 8-time winner. And so after that, when Captain L was going to be sold and the association with the Dos Santos family was off to war, Gary suggested that we go and look at Captain L at the sales. We looked at him, and I liked the individual, and he came into the yard at the end of August of his 2-year-old career. He just turned 2. From the breaking in stage to the first morning at the track and so on, we knew we had a good horse on our hands.
Monastic towards the inside, one of the first to react. Captain L is also pretty speedy in the centre. Uhuru towards the inside, and they being followed by Peking Party towards the outside is also pretty speedy. Inside the final 400 now, Captain L is in front. Towards the inside, King's Best. Peking Party is now being set alight in the centre. Towards the inside, Monastic, but Captain L has swept into the lead and gone clear. And Captain L is now pulling clear to win this one impressively. Captain L wins it by 5 lengths in the end.
He was jumping shadows jumping down the course on the way back, and there were moments of concern early on, but he just knew what to do, and he cracked on.
Captain L easing up at the line to win it easy from Queen's Guard in second.
And Captain L and Jeffrey Lloyd, they drawing away to win it effortless. And Captain L won by about 3. Tropical Land second.
When you consider that he was a November foal, so he was, he was still very young, and he was taking on older horses. He just turned 3, and he carried top weight, if I recall. And so I was criticised by certain people that I was overfacing him, but I feel that to win the Guineas in January, the horse has got to do something remarkable early on in his career as a 3-year-old to warrant you having that idea in your head.
But Captain L stretching out over the last 100 and has got it won. And Captain L wins by about 2.5 lengths.
Captain L, meantime, has set sail for home and got to the front, 2 legs clear. Racing in second, Shadai, and they being followed by Val Romano. But Captain L is pulling clear and ridiculing them. Captain L showing his class and comes away to win it.
Of his runs up to the Guineas, the Midsummer Stakes was possibly his most impressive one, because he really pulverised them, and I think the 1400 suited him at that stage. And he was that much more precocious than the other 3-year-olds around, even though that race was against older horses. his preparation was going well. Yeah.
Captain Al coming with a big challenge up towards the outside, and Captain Al has swept into lead now as they come to the final 250. Glamour Boy is trying to stay with him along the inside. Caracola and Sugar Daddy's running on late, but Captain Al is out in front. Glamour Boy is fighting back courageously. Captain Al and Glamour Boy, but Captain Al is going to win the Guineas and draws off the winner from Glamour Boy, Sugar Daddy, Caracola.
Ethnocentric, the leader, Captain Al, Dad's Elect, Sugar Daddy and Laser Fair. Then it's Super Home, Desert Lake and behind them. Ethnocentric, Captain Al, Dad's Elect, Ghostly Galleon finding a finish along the inside. Captain Al, wider out, is now the leader from Ethnocentric, Super Home. Laser Fair trying to run on, but it's Captain Al and Ethnocentric. A titanic battle as Captain Al, the Cape Guineas winner, trying the blinkers and he wins the Merchant.
It's Captain Al as they come to the final 200 now. Picks it up from Ethnocentric, who's making him work hard for victory along the inside. Captain Al, Ethnocentric, trying all he can, but Captain Al is just too classy and draws away to win from Ethnocentric.
One must also realise the impact of the mare off Tawar, you know. The DeSantis family, the progeny that they've owned out of that mare, I think have won in the region of 42 races, which I'm sure must be a world record for one family to own progeny out of one mare and with such a record. So she's thrown them, and they're multiple winners, you know, 10, 11 time winners in the field, and he's now a nine-time winner. He's achieved everything, and we send a good young horse to stud so that he can get progeny on the ground. And I just feel that we should be working the same way as they do in England. When a horse wins the Guineas, he's sent to stud. And, all right, I don't say we must send one that wins the Cape Guineas because that's still very early in his 3-year career. But I think we should all be working along those lines, and hopefully we will be vindicated with this decision.
Captain Al, to me, was the best 3-year-old in the country. I rode him during his 2- and 3-year-old career, where he was probably unbeatable over the 6 furlongs and 7 furlongs, where he won the features in Cape Town. He then went for his main test, which was the Argus Guineas. A lot of people had doubt about his stamina, but he won it very comfortably from drawn 16. And I think after that race, everyone believed he was the best 3-year-old around. He, to me, was a better sprinter than a miler, but his class and his speed got him through.
He's a lovely horse. He's very well put together. He's strong, he's sound, he's got speed, and you know, he can get a mile. So I think he's an excellent breeding prospect.
Hill 54 was safely loaded away. Racing in the JMB Met from the 2,000 metre mark. In front, it's Hill 54 that takes the JMB Met field onto the 1,000 metre mark. He leads the way by a length and a half, and no worries. He's racing in second, a half a length back on the inside. Royal Zulu Warrior, Ice Machine, Awesome Power. Behind that, we've got Do You Remember? Then comes Jackson. He's cornering at the back as they straighten up. Hill 54. He's hanging towards the stand side rail. No worries on the inside. Then comes Royal Zulu Warrior, Punta Arenas. Yorker gets going towards the inside. Cape Town was up the middle. Master of My Fate into the clear flashing. They fanned right across the track. Hill 54. Yorker between runners. We've got Master of My Fate getting going. Down the inside we got Ice Machine. It's Hill 54. He's finding another gear, and Hill 54 is powering home to conquer the Met. Hill 54 from Yorker, but it's Anton Marcus for Von Marshall on Hill 54 that wins the JNB Met.
He's been a wonderful horse, and it was just reward for him, you know, having all that time to prepare him, and after the bad trip in Durban, he's really bounced back to his best.
What stage of the race did you actually think to yourself, well, this one looks like it's in the bag, knowing how fit and strong he was?
I'd like to say when the gates open, but yeah, on the line, yeah, you keep shouting and hoping, and it came off.
Victory is beautiful for yourself and for your team, but it's the look of joy on the face of the recipient. In this particular case, one of the most prolific owners that this country's ever seen. He's achieved incredible things business-wise, but this must have been the cherry on the top for him.
Well, absolutely, Andrew. You know, I think he's got two real big passions, and they're all our passions: to win the July and to win the Met. And we've now done the Met, so I hope I do it in the July. You know, because he's a wonderful, wonderful man to train for, and the sport desperately needs men like him.
Of course, the relationship goes back to the days where you syndicated Captain Al and your long-standing relationship with John Costa.
Yeah, well, that goes back to mid-80s, so we've been around together for a long, long time. My first Group 1 winner was a horse bred by Costa Brothers in those days, a horse called Sea Warrior, and that's where my relationship started with John.
Mike de Kock once said to me when I was speaking to him about Horse Chestnut, and bearing in mind that he is, relatively speaking, a junior to you in terms of years and training, he said these great horses find you. Was that the case with Hill 54?
Yeah, definitely. You know, I certainly didn't pick him, and I can't take any accolades for that. But you know, he came to me in a package deal, and we all thought he'd be a nice horse, and so it proved once we got the show on the road. You know, and he's just continued to show improvement. And I agree wholeheartedly with Mike. You know, those horses do come along once in a lifetime, and he found me.
You know, we bought his mother at a sale, but we bought her specifically for Captain Al. And the second foal was Hill 54. And the poor old girl died giving birth to Hill 54. And I have to say such a huge thank you to my staff at home, Peter and Juanita, who bottle fed this little guy for 2 days before we found a batty mare for him and put him onto a batty mare, and she raised him. And it's just a great story because, you know, Marcus has run second in this race, I think 4 times.
Yeah.
And this is a horse that we put aside for Marcus from the farm because he buys horses off the farm. And it's just a dream come true to be able to do that for Marcus, and at the same time for Vaughan Marshall, who trained his dad to win the Guineas here, and ultimately has trained his greatest son. So it's just a fabulous day of stories and tales for all the family.
Well, there's no syndicate that I've ever seen commit themselves as you guys did to Captain Al. The celebration of the day that he actually retired, it was a race that he didn't win. Nobody cared about that because he had been a horse that had won the Guineas from draw 16. Heart, what an incredible stallion, right across the spectrum.
Well, Andrew, you know, you were at the party. We syndicated him in 24 hours. First time in my life I've seen ladies playing Hawkers Crackers with dresses on nogal. And it's just been a huge fun syndicate. You know, Captain Al, for us personally, put our children through school. But there's nobody in this country that hasn't been involved with a Captain Al, whether it's a trainer, a jockey, or an owner, or a breeder, that hasn't had good fortune. So, just an unbelievable stallion, and we're just blessed that he's crossed our paths. Vaughan was the first trainer that I actually shook hands with when I was a lightie and came onto the breeding scene, and Vaughan will tell you what happened that night. We went huge. So it's fantastic to be able to share this kind of a victory with Vaughan, a very dear and a very close friend. Anton, you know, Anton's not called Superman for nothing. He is absolutely sublime, and I don't like to say I have favorites, but if I had to choose somebody to ride for my life, for sure it would be Anton. And Marcus, you know, I haven't got enough superlatives for Marcus. What he's done for this industry, the support that he's given, not just to Clover Flay, but to every breeder in this industry, and trainers. You know, I think he's got 16 different trainers that train for him. So it's, you know, we're blessed to have these kind of people in this game, and all we can say is hallelujah and enjoy the moment. So please God, we find a son of his to go to stud.
As everyone knows, the breeding of thoroughbred racehorses is anything but an exact science. But if this fella, William Longsword, doesn't make it as a stallion, it would be a travesty of justice. He has the looks, he has the pedigree, he has the racing performance, and he looks to have that X factor. The X factor that was prevalent in Off to War, who produced both Shadow Dancing, a Grade 1 filly, a daughter of Fort Wood, and then Captain Al defeating Glamour Boy in his finest hour, the Argus Guineas being drawn widest of all. In all the tributes we've seen of Northern Dancer, or Seattle Slew, or Secretariat, or any great racehorse for that matter, in the South African context we think of Jetmaster. All of these tributes are deeply emotional. But nobody will argue the fact that Captain Al etched his way into our hearts like no horse has ever done in South Africa. His roll of honor is long and illustrious, and it's no secret that this filly smashed the colts in the Natal Mercury Sprint Her name, all is secret. And then there's Carry On Alice. She was victorious in 5 Grade 1 races, the darling of the turf, destined to go to stud in the foreseeable future. Claverflay as a nursery was home to Captain Al, and his legacy will never be forgotten, no matter who comes to Claverflay, no matter who the next successor to Captain Al will be. There will always only be one Captain Al. Statistics say so much, but so little, as was reported in the Sporting Post. John Costa said, "We didn't have a gate at the top of our driveway. What we did have was 2 wolves called Debt and Overdraft. And Captain Al kept on guarding my family from those 2 wolves. That was our captain."
It's Captain America in front. He's 2 lengths clear and he's going on strongly. Here's Captain America. This is the Captain America that we know, and he blows them away. Captain of All, though, goes on, and it's Captain of All from Gulfstorm the last 100, but Captain of All has won it. But Carry On Alice is going on, and it's Carry On Alice running strongly. He's going to win it. The second place will go to maybe Alborency or Fly By Night.
William Longsword draws up and draws to the lead. Gold Standard is in hot pursuit up the outside. It's William Longsword with his head in front. He's taken the lead in the Guineas. Gold Standard is bearing him down with each and every stride. The post looming. William Longsword from Gold Standard. Table Bay, and then came Elevated.
An incredible element of irony prevails here when we reflect on the interview of Vaughan Marshall's when Captain Al was retired to stud. The very self-same man ironically produces his heir apparent, William Longsword, the smashing-looking son of Captain Al, out of a Fort Wood mare called Pagan Princess. This is clearly the stuff of which dreams are made. You look at the individual, you think to yourself, how on earth can this not be a stallion? Even as a relatively young 3-year-old, he always looked the part.
It's Carry On Alice that's taken the lead in the Betting World Cape Flying Championship. Red Ray comes again on the inside, up the outside, trip to Evan to the wire. Carry On Alice won it.
The true test of a filly is the ability to smash the colts. And this Carry On Alice has done right from the very early part of her racing career. She has become the darling of the turf, trained by South African record-breaking trainer Sean Tarry and ridden by Samanga Kamalo. She's all class, she's all speed, and she is a true testament to the brilliance of Captain Al as a sire.
Captain of All's now going to throw out the challenge down the inside. African Dream, Legislate, and Captain of All coming to the 200-meter marker. Captain of All, though, hit the front over the last 100. Carry On Alice is running on from behind, but Captain of All's going on to win it.
Well, the most important thing from a sport analogy perspective is that every cricket team likes to have an anchor, whether it's a Barry Richards or a Jacques Collis. You've got Captain Al.
No, he's been the most amazing stallion that we could ever have envisaged of having. He's just so consistent. We call him Mr. Fix It at Home because you can send him any type of a mare and he'll give you a yearling that you can sell well and that they race well and they're very sound horses. So we're absolutely blessed. Our anchor is for sure Captain Al.
Well, down at Aventure, Fee Ramsden caught up with the General Manager, Pippa Mickleborough.
Well, it's a very fresh morning here at Aventure. A little bit chilly, but the sun is out and the farm, I must say, is looking magnificent. And with me this morning is Pippa Mickleborough to give us an update on the stallions and the farm in general. Pippa, I think we have to start with what an absolutely fantastic July day you had.
You know that July is one of those days you'd love to win the July, but just to win a race on the day, the crowd, the support you get from around the country. And yes, the horses ran well. We had good places and big races, and we had a lovely winner on the day. The jockeys won, so we were delighted.
And you had Purple Diamond, who's by VAR, and Ancestry by Oratoria, going head to head in the Golden Horseshoe.
You know, it was quite a bittersweet day, because we obviously would have loved Oratoria to have his first group winner in South Africa, but Purple Diamond winning for VAR hopefully will cement his champion 2-year-old status now. And listen, I don't know who, I was just screaming, I don't know who I was shouting for, just shouting.
And 2 VARs coming 4th and 5th respectively.
Yeah, listen, VAR's he's an enigma in this. You know, he's really changed the speed scene in South Africa, and that's what he was brought in to do. So he continues to have winners every day, another one yesterday. And I think should he win the champion 2-year-old sire of South Africa for this year, he's been second, I think, 5 times to the great Captain L. I think that's a fitting end to a great season's racing.
And She's a Giver coming second to Bella Bella. That was a great race.
You know, She's a Giver was always a filly that Johan rated so highly, and he brought her down to Cape Town. She didn't enjoy Cape Town, so it's taken a long time to get her back. Listen, I don't know that she's in the class of Bella Bella, but I think she's got a big race in her, and I'm glad to see her back.
Well, obviously we won't know the final results till after Gold Cup Day, but VAR is well clear in the 2-year-old list, and of course you've got Ancestry running again on Gold Cup Day, so it's looking good for VAR and Oratoria for this season.
It'll be quite special if I can have 2 top stallions at the end of the season with VAR if he wins it. Oratoria, there's not really a category for him because he's not a freshman sire, but if he can end up with a big winner on a big day like that, and good with some juvenile winners, he's already had 8, far beyond what I expected him to have. He's a classic sire. Yes, we'll sleep well come the 31st of July.
And it's also fantastic you're actually getting to sponsor some races. It's a 2-day event, Saturday and Sunday racing, and Aventure sponsors 2 races.
Well, you know, Fee, we did the Fillies Guineas for 10 years in the Western Cape, and we've been looking for somewhere to get going again. We've had a bit of a breather. It's quite an exhausting effort to put that sort of thing on the go. This is a very small way of just helping Natal a little bit, mainly from our wine point of view. And in lieu of that, we'll get 2 races on the day. So I haven't done the Gold Cup before, so this is my first Gold Cup ever, actually. So I'll be up there for the 2 days. We'll have some wine tastings going on and just promote the wine where we can.
Well, I think it's always a nice, exciting race meeting, and then the end of the season for Durban, it's always lots of fun. And your jockeys, how are they doing? You've got 3 jockeys on your books and all doing well.
We've had a wonderful, you know, MJ Baderveld has been with us for, I don't know how, I've lost track. He just consistently does his best. He's a great social media worker and helps us a lot on the wine side. Then the 2 young guns, Lyle Hewitson and Callan Murray. Listen, Lyle will win the Champion Apprentice this year. Callan won it last year. Callan's had a wonderful time in Hong Kong. Listen, you know, it's one of those things, you know, I don't know if they do more than I expect of them. They do everything I ask. The 2 young guns have got huge social media following, and they got quite a lot of people follow them in the streets, on the roads. I mean, so for us, you know, they can just talk Aventure every time they do. That to me works, and MJ just carries on soldiering on in the Western Cape. He's a star.
Well, it must be lovely to sponsor 2 young up-and-coming jockeys. I mean, we really do need them, and they are absolutely doing fantastically well.
They're doing well, and I don't know how long I'll be able to keep them. You know, they're the type of guys that will flat go overseas, I would think, and build their career. And you know, like when Callan took the month sabbatical, you know, obviously sad for us because he was on a high winning those 2 Group 1s, but you know, if we can help him on his way and be a little bit of kudos for their success, then we'll have to find somebody else.
But they're nice young men, definitely going places.
Very nice boys.
And the farm now, it's looking fantastic, and you've got foaling season will be next up.
Listen, you know, we obviously, as you know, had a tremendous drought here in the Western Cape, but this farm we haven't run out of water. This farm has never looked like it's looked. The horses are on lap of luxury, the grass is green. It's an amazing oasis in the middle of this drought. But we do really look after the water and cherish it where we can. The farm's in good shape. Foaling season, yes, 2 weeks ago, but apprehensive as always. I think anybody who says they're not is not talking the truth. Until you get going, you're in the swing of it. So we're due about 32 foals and 2 fully booked stallions. So.
Wow. Well, we're going to take a look at your stallions this morning, and looking fantastically well for this time of year.
They're both amazing horses. They don't do any winter coats. They look amazing. We show them to people every day. They have visitors. Yesterday we showed them to a big group from Mauritius. So yeah, listen, they look amazing. Looking, VAR is 18 now, so you know he's maybe looking a little bit older than he did 2 years ago, but he looks amazing. He's in fine shape.
I've seen a few updates of Miss Frankel on Facebook doing her bits and bobs of work, but what is the plan for her? How's she doing?
Well, Miss Frankel, you know, she had a disappointing first start down here. We all put it down to stage fright. That's all we can assume. She went back to Durban. She had a bit of shin problems, and you know, really and truly, she's a 3-year-old. She's not a 2-year-old, so we've backed off totally. Her work is excellent. We've had some big jocks gallop her recently because I think Sean Veal's feeling a little bit of pressure. She's still with Dennis, and she's due to run in the next 2 weeks. Watch the space. She put up a very good piece of work the other day. And we know with Frankel doing what he's doing, you know, there's a lot of pressure on Dennis. We try not to put him under pressure. Just treat her like a normal horse. But her work is exceptional, and I would say in the next 10 days, watch her space. I don't want to say anything now, but she'll run in the next 10 days. Yeah.
Well, fingers crossed, we'll all be watching.
Yeah.
The restaurant is absolutely firing. I see lots of pictures on social media. People are flooding in this morning. Lots of winter specials, functions, going amazingly well.
We've also, you know, the restaurant has been here, these ladies, Melanie and Zunia, been here for 12 years now. That's a long time to have the same proprietors of a restaurant. They've built up a great clientele, discerning clientele, an average age of about 55, 58, so they know what they want. So the food's going well. We're doing the early bird dinners now, which seems to be working, so that you place your meal order by 6:30. You've gone by 8 to get home to the family. That works very well. A little bit of functions, a lot of team building, a lot of corporate business. So it's growing nicely, and of course the wines have done really well this year in the awards. So the wine sales have picked up nicely too. So everything going sweetly. Yeah.
Well, we're here early in the morning and people are already flowing in. And yes, you've got some nice winter specials on the board.
Good specials, oxtail and the famous duck is still there. But yeah, the soups are good. I just think generally it's a lovely place to come and have a nice meal. Beautiful view, and it's always green and pretty at Avantier. It never really gets a winter feel, and even if it does, the colours are wonderful. So it's warm, the fire's on, the underfloor heating's on, so it's very smart.
Now, last week was a shocking week for the racing industry with the loss of Captain L. But thankfully, Claverflay do have William Longsword, Captain of All, to carry the flag now. But it was a very, very sad week.
It was a horrible day, actually. I got goosebumps as I speak to you. You know, Captain L has done to Claverflay and to John what VAR has done here. There's a great correlation, a long chat to John when it all happened. Because I know that when that day happens here, it's going to be a terrible day because he saved us here, and I know Captain L saved them all. So yes, but listen, I have to say we've got access to William Longsword this year, and we've got magnificent captain of all babies on this farm. So he's left a wonderful dynasty, a legacy. And as I said to John, he's in the stars above Bonnievale watching.
Well, thank you very much for chatting to us this morning, Pippa. Good luck with the two big boys. I hope they get their prizes they deserve come next Saturday. And good luck with Gold Cup. Thank you very much, Pippa, for having us.
Thanks, Fee.
Well, a gentleman we haven't seen on the Teletrack screens for a while is Colin Gordon. So it's great to have Colin back in the hot seat here on the Breeding to Win team show. And lovely to have you here, Colin. Long time no see.
Thanks, Jules. It's good to be back, and it's good to be back in racing. I've missed it.
Well, let's just quickly chat about your title at the moment, because I'm not sure if we can actually caption you because of all the hats you're wearing at the moment.
You know, Jules, there's an old saying about not worrying about what you call me, just call me, and I think that's the same, yeah. I'm going to be working for Mutonshoek, for Chris and Benny, really looking after the commercial aspects of the farm, and then from a racing aspect, I'd be looking after Chris Gerber's racing interests and his horses in training, obviously.
Okay, so Chris is racing manager, and then more the marketing and commercial side for Motonsuk.
That's right. You know, we've got Benny and Jackie on the farm together with a very good team with Romy and Carl and the likes. So I'm sure they know a lot more about foaling down horses than I'd ever do. So I'd be based primarily up here in Johannesburg looking after the commercial aspects.
Before we get into Motonsuk and what's going on there at the moment, I have to ask you, you've been a man involved in racing pretty much for many years. Tell us how it all began for you and your involvement in horse racing.
That goes a long, long way back. I was at university and I was led astray by a mate of mine, Clint Larson, who owns quite a few horses nowadays. He's been quite a lucky owner. And he took me to the racetrack one day at Turffontein. And Washong Mowing rode a horse for Ormond Ferraris. And it took off at the 200-metre mark.
And you had your money on it?
I had my 20 rand as a student on it.
Always
and
worth it.
took off at the 200-metre mark. Washong actually changed hands, gave it a crack with the left hand, and it took off. And I think I beat it to the post. And I was hooked from that day onwards. So since then I've been hooked. I then applied for a position at the National Horse Racing Authority, in those days the Jockey Club. And had to suffer many question about how a fat guy like me could be a jockey, and I always had to explain that it was the controlling body, not the jockey's body. Worked my way up through the Jockey Club, and then was appointed at the RA as general manager. From there, went off at a bit of a tangent into the mining game, and now I'm very pleased to be back in horse racing.
You're also part owner. I know we've seen you along here and there at the track on a couple of occasions, and I know you're quite involved with Peter White with a few horses, so it's never really run out of your blood. It's always been there.
Well, I became a part owner, and then I also took up the challenge of being a part-time breeder. So I think I think the attraction of racing is trying to breed that next champion, trying to buy that next champion, trying to train that next champion. So it's a fascinating game, and it's always been very close to my heart, and I'm thrilled to be back.
Well, we love to have you back. Now let's talk about Motonsuk, because obviously Chris and Benny do a superb job together. They work as a team. They've got two stallions standing there at the moment, Mambo in Seattle and of course Marchfield, and it's almost like now they're starting to take off.
That's right. I mean, Chris always uses the description for Mambo of he's just bubbling under. He's had a very nice end to the season. We saw it on July Day, Desert Rhythm, and fingers crossed. And then I think in his last 20-odd runners, he's had 5 winners, 8 places. I think we're working out who to breed him with. I think the breeders out there are working that out. So we're pleased with the progress he's making. Marchfield, for a stallion who should really give you older horses and over a slightly longer trip, he's at his 4th juvenile winner just the other day for Candice Bass. So we're pleased with the way it's going, and we're hopeful.
Well, 2 new stallions joining Motonsuk, and I think very exciting stallions, not only for Motonsuk, but for the whole of the South African breeding industry. And of course, it's United States, the son of Galileo, and Admiral Kitten.
That's right, Jules. If we start with the United States, I think it's a great name, but he started his career in Europe and then went across to Australia, successful in both, raced from 2 till 7, Grade 1 winner on the turf, and he's a classic type horse, but he comes out of a very fast female line. His mom was a champion sprinter. He's got a half sister that's a champion sprinter, and then of course he's got a full sister now, Hydrangea, who's group placed and a group winner. So they talk about the 3 P's: performance, pedigree, and physical conformation. We'd like to think he's got all 3. And then getting on to the Kitten's Joy son, Admiral Kitten. I'm very excited about him. I mean, the one question mark you've always got of these US stallions is how their progeny are going to go on the turf. And Kitten's Joy he's leading the turf standings in the US by some distance. And then over the weekend, of course, for all the naysayers, he had 2 group winners in Europe. So we're excited to have Admiral Kitten, a Grade 1 winner himself, won the Secretariat Stakes like Dad. So, you know, they talk about trainers when they've got 2-year-olds in the barn, there's always hope. We've really got a lot of hope with these two.
Well, all I can say, it surely has to boost the South African breeding industry with a son of Galileo, and then having these two type of stallions come and stand here. I mean, it just pushes everything else up.
Yeah, and the value, I think, to be had. We talk about the value of our horses at the sales, but the value to be had in terms of our breeding market. When you look at a horse like Kitten's Joy, who stands at $100,000 at the moment, and you look at Admiral Kitten, you're going to get to him at 20,000 Rand. Sure. I mean, the South African value is there for all to see, and we're hoping breeders take advantage of that. And then Galileo. Can you go wrong with the son of Galileo? He's just changed the whole stud book.
I mean, just looking at him worldwide, and I know I keep bringing him up, but I mean, he's probably the world's greatest sire stallion.
Yeah, he is, and you know, we've advertised in the Stallion Handbook, and I think we were just going through it the other day at the office and looking how that cross of Galileo with Stormcat, how well it works. So we think he's going to be a great addition to our stud book.
He's also got a great crossing with the Northern Dancer.
Yeah, you know, and I mentioned earlier, just you've got to obviously work out with all of these stallions what works. We spoke about Mambo, and we spoke about Desert Rhythm, and how the Al Mufti and the Captain Al mares go with Mambo, and we're going to need to work out as customers and together as breeders with our customers what those best matings are.
So exciting times for Muttonzok and of course for South Africa.
Yeah, very much so. And you know, we were speaking off air about how stallion-centric our market is, and I think we've got our big four, our big five, and then we've got those lurking and also trying to prove themselves, and it's those unproven stallions, and hoping to become the big four, big five of the years to come. Well, and we're confident with these two.
Yeah, I'm sure you are. I mean, fantastic pedigrees. And like you said, they're going to be value for money. So get in early, guys. That's what I can say. When are they arriving?
They're arriving now, and then they'll be on the farm in August, towards the tail end of August. So they'll be ready for the breeding season. There'll be some news about a Stallion Day together with our neighbours. We're hoping to show off those stallions together with Rafif, who's just gone off. The Wilgebros drift crew, so there'll be some information about that, and we'll hope to show these two newcomers and other stallions off at that day.
Colin, thank you very much for your time. Always a pleasure having you on the Breeding to Win show, and hopefully we can catch up with you soon when those new stallions arrive.
Thanks, Jules. We hope to see you at the Stallion Day.
Thank you.
Down for the final half furlong. Admiral Kitten has taken the lead now for Rosie Napravnik in the Secretariat Stakes. Admiral Kitten on top.
The United States repelling the challenge of Haraki, and the United States draws clear to win the round and by 3/4.
Right, we're here at the Vasco, and this is probably one of the nicer places to come and do a couple of interviews. And with me is Justin. For Mark, we're going to be chatting a little bit about the Equus Awards coming up soon in August. And there's a couple of really trappy categories which we want to just go through and bounce a couple of ideas off people, because obviously the speculation's out there now. People are starting to chat about it. And firstly, Justin, great that you could take the time and come chat to us at Vasco's. I know one of your popular haunts as well.
Yeah, obviously a great place to come in Cape Town, and Bryn and Marsh and the guys are hanging out here all the time, and Bernard and I frequent the place a lot, so we've bumped into you coincidentally at lunch, so have a chat about the Equus Awards.
Let's talk about some of the categories, because obviously there's a couple that obviously hinge on the big weekend at the end of July out at Greyville. Let's talk about the 2-year-old colt category, because for me that's quite interesting. You got Mr. Queen who's won 2 from 2. Then you got Sand and Sea, who came out and won that feature out at Scottsville. Where do you think the money is in? Because he's drawn pretty badly for that meeting at the end of July.
Yeah, obviously this year it's a bit different to the other years because of that 1400 on July Day being downgraded to a Group 2. So the Group 1s, as in the Nursery, the Scottsville race, the Medallion, and then the Mile, which could tell a story depending on who takes place. Not sure if Sand and Sea is going to take his place in that race, but we'll see. But obviously we saw a similar situation a few years back when Majmu was crowned the Equus Champion 2-year-old filly for that one super performance. So could be same type of thing with Mustaqim, but you've got to say Sand and Sea's run was phenomenal in the Medallion, and I think he's put up a pretty high rating, and we must bear in mind there are handicappers sitting on this panel, and they do use merit ratings as a guide at times to decide who's going to get these type of awards. So I think, as you touched on there, it'll come down to where he runs on the big day, on Champions Cup and Gold Cup Festival weekend, and then we'll take it from there. But it's very close, and I think the people must obviously remember that it's a seasonal award, not just a one race award. And I think Sand and Sea might just overshade it depending on the figure that he earned at Scottsville, which I think will be quite high.
Fascinating category, but let's talk about another interesting category for me, and that's going to be obviously the champion sprinter category, because now obviously Bull Valley's come through. He's won 2 really smart Group 1 races. Carrion Alice has won 2, and then you had Rafif, who came out and actually beat Carrion Alice in the computer form sprint, another wide open category.
Exactly, very open. Once again, Rafif had that one big performance. He did win the Group 2 over 1400 as well, but in the sprint category, Group 1, which is where Equus champions are made, he had that one performance this year, which was very, very good. I think that was a below par carry on Alice that day. She got beat by Talk to the Stars as well. So I think it's probably going to come down to the 2 dual Group 1 winners, which is Bull Valley now after he won the Mercury Sprint, and Carry on Alice as well. I think Carry on Alice, obviously most deserving of every award she's ever won, but she did one of those Group 1s was restricted to fillies. We must remember that. But she travelled to Cape Town, won the Cape Fly, then she beat fillies in the SA Filly Sprint. Whereas Bull Valley, it's all culminated right at the end of the season, and he's pulled off a handicap where he only received weight from 1 or 2 horses at Scottsville, and then obviously won the Mercury Sprint, which is a massive win. And for me, I think he might just shade it and take the award. He's rated at 116, she's at 114. So I think with those 2 open Group 1s and his rating, I think he might just pull it off.
3-year-old colt. Now another interesting category. You've got Eric Tenance, who's won the 2 Group 1s, and he's the only 3-year-old who's won 2. Is that going to shade it for him?
I think it may. I think it's a big pointer. Obviously, the Cape Derby, Investe Cape Derby that he won, and the Daily News. And what I think helped him there was he defeated Al Sahem in the Daily News, which is a big factor for him. Although Al Sahem defeated him in the July, but none of them were victorious. So very open. Al Sahem, I mean, he won the Derby Group 1. He ran second in the SA Classic, second in the Daily News, and second in the July. So it's 3 Group 1 seconds, which over a season is a pretty phenomenal performance. So Edict of Nantes, obviously, he does have those 2 Group 1 wins to his name, so I think that might help him pull it off.
Older filly mare category again. Now you've got Carry on Alice again, and you bump the beautiful grey Bella Bella. Different distances, different type of fillies, both similar results though.
Yeah, very similar. Bella Bella, obviously a Group 1 winner of the Paddock Stakes in Cape Town, carried it over into the Durban season. I think what will help her was the way that she won that Garden Province was quite phenomenal. She looked like she was dropped in at the 300, and she does take part in the Champions Cup. So any type of good performance from her there, which you're going to expect. That could shade it her way. And I just think it shows you the nature of these awards and how hard it is to win when you've got a horse like Carry On Alice, the career she's had, the season she's had, winning those Group 1s, and she's not a shoo-in for the category she's in, for the Sprinter Award or the Older Mare Award. So very competitive this year. I think Bella Bella's Champions Cup performance will be the turning point, and we'll have to see how she goes. You can't expect her to miss the money. I think she's going to run a cracker. So I think that will be where the award is won or lost by her.
Now, the older male category is always an interesting one because it obviously, a lot of it stems into Horse of the Year. Now, let's think of a couple of the performances. You've got Whiskey Baron, who was prolific since being gelded. He's certainly done nothing wrong. You've got Legal Eagle, who's won his 2 Group 1s, as he does or appears to do every single racing season. And then obviously you've got the other horses that have been knocking on the door behind him as well. Where are you leaning towards with Horse of the Year?
I think, it's between those two, and obviously Marina Resco having won the July, and he could be a Champions Cup winner by next weekend. Captain America's in there as well, but for me, I would lean towards Legal Eagle because, as I touched on earlier, it is a seasonal award. Whiskey Baron obviously beat him in the Met, but Legal Eagle has won 2 weight for age Group 1s. He won the Queen's Plate, and he obviously won the Horse Chestnut. And not only that, he ran second in the Met and second in the President's Champions Challenge. So he's been around the country. He's registered a Group 1 win and a Group 1 second in the Cape and in his hometown at Turfentine. And I think over a season, that's pretty phenomenal performances. He's 123 or 124 in ratings, much higher than his competition, who are 7-8 pounds below him, which I think is something you got to take cognizance of because, that is their merit rating. That's what it's called, and it judges their ability. Yes, he may have got beat by Whiskey Baron on that day, who was a better horse than him over that trip, but over the season, he's earned his ability of 123, 124, which is about as high as you get in this country over that type of distance. So consistency, class factor, I think it'll go to him. Obviously, Whiskey Baron won a phenomenal Met, and we'll see what he does internationally now. But I think for Champion Mahler, definitely, having won the Lomrance Queen's Plate and the Horse Chestnut Stakes, has to go to him, and I'd shade it for older horse as well.
Interesting though, because obviously Legal Eagle carried top weight in that Met as well, so I think Whiskey Baron was in receipt of a weight. But let's just go back to the July meeting come the end of July now, because 2 things could happen. What if Purple Diamond were to win the Group 1 for 2-year-olds, and what if Marina Rescue were to win the Champions Cup? Because then all of a sudden, Marina Rescue comes out as possibly Horse of the Year as well, and Champion 2-year-old colt will probably go to Purple Diamond.
Yeah, well, he'd be a Group 1 winner and a Group 2 winner, so he would be a shoo-in for the award, if you ask me. In terms of the older horses, obviously Marina Resco winning the Vodacom Durban July, which would be classed as our top race, although it is a handicap, he carried top weight and won it. And then to add another Group 1 win to that would bring him level on Group 1 wins with Legal Eagle, having a second Group 1 of the season. Obviously, Legal Eagle beat him quite comfortably in more than one race in Cape Town, when obviously Marina Resco wasn't at his best. We've seen him now in the Durban season come to his best, but winning the Vodacom Durban July always has a bit of an extra pull when it comes to these type of awards, and I think especially when you've done it with top weight. So winning the Champions Cup would make a very hard decision, I think, for Horse of the Year. He would still be a good couple of pounds inferior to Legal Eagle on best form and collateral form and on ratings. So the better horse probably is Legal Eagle over their careers so far, but in terms of a season, if Legal Eagle had pulled off that President's Champions Challenge when he got knocked down by Deo Geventi by head, then I don't think we'd be having this discussion. But he did get beat, which is unlike him in that type of race. So a win in the Champions Cup would throw Marina Resco right into the fold.
Before we sign off, Green Street Bloodstock, you've been knocking on the door with winners yet again. Everything seems to be going well?
Yeah, all's going well. Obviously, a lot of our horses still unraced 2-year-olds, which we've got a good couple, 20, 25 still to come out. And we've had 28 winners. Things are going well. We broke Bernard's duck for us. Obviously, we retain him as our rider, and he hasn't ridden one winner for us until last week when he got last Outlaw home. So that was his first winner for us. So he's quite chuffed about that.
Brilliant stuff. Thanks for joining us here, and we certainly wish you all the best with Green Street Bloodstock and going forward. Nice end to the season. Lots to look forward to come the big meeting at Greyville at the end of July.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a great culmination of the season. Obviously, we've got the Claverflay Stallion Day on the Thursday. There's a bit of a festival happening with the 2-day meeting at the Gold Cup for the first time, and it's going to be good fun.
Great stuff, Bill. Fantastic to have Justin Vermaak here with us. You get a bit of his ideas of what might transpire out at the Empress Palace, and obviously we're all looking forward to seeing Bob Urim and his team out at Empress Palace. They do such a fantastic job there, but keep your eyes peeled on the television for that big race meeting come the end of July out at Greyville. It's a double header. We're racing on Saturday and Sunday, but a lot of the awards will be decided there.
Flower Alley is the winner. I'll have another. Wins the Derby. I'll have another in the Preakness.
Luke's Alley wins it.
Lilacs and Lace, 48-1, upset.
Gates are open, soft falling rain pulling clear. Soft falling rains won the SA Nursery by 3.
Racing in the 2,000 guineas. Gates fly and they're racing in the Godolphin Mile.
They're off and racing.
Weight didn't matter. Class tells, soft falling rain, much too good. Soft falling rain, an impressive guineas winner. Soft falling rain is drawing clear.
He's made it 7 out of 7 by winning here today.
But it's soft falling rain who is powering away. We'll see out the mile in style. A high-class performer wins the Nay of Joel Stakes.
Well, it was great to catch up with Justin Vermaak and hear those views regarding to the Equus panel and the decisions that they are going to have to be making in the next couple of weeks. Certainly looks set to be a wonderful evening out at Emperor's Palace. But that's a wrap from me here at Aventura. Jules, we're going to be handing back to you in the studio. And certainly we'll be looking forward to visiting you probably from Aventura again in the not too distant future. And we certainly look forward to Miss Frankel reappearing on the racetrack.
Well, thanks to Grant and the rest of the Breeding to Win team down in Cape Town. From us here in Gauteng, it's been a pleasure being with you on this Breeding to Win show. Until next time, good night.
Carry On Alice breaks their hearts again. Pulling clear in the closing stages. Smart Call wins the Jambi Mid.
And Smart Call comes home to win it in the main Chance Farms Paddock Stakes.